Welcome to Lifetree, and happy Father's Day to everybody in the room. Let's give it up for all the fathers in the room today. Today we honor all the men who are fathers and father figures to us. We appreciate all those who are doing their best to fulfill that role in our lives. Fatherhood's not always an easy task, right? Which makes those who accept the challenge worthy of honor, which is why we set aside a day like this. Particularly in our current day and age, being a dad is hard. It's very hard. Both what is expected of a father and what is needed from a father is different than it's ever been before. And it takes a lot of wisdom and a lot of courage and a lot of love to be a dad. And so we honor all of you who are doing that. It was Pope John the 23rd who said it's easier for a father to have children than for children to have a father. Today can be a difficult day also for those who have either lost their fathers or maybe didn't have a great relationship with their father, maybe you never had a father figure in your life at all. And that pain, that loss that we feel, it only emphasizes and underlines how important the role of a father is in our lives. Being a father is one of the greatest honors of my life. God was so good that He gave me 3 totally perfect children. So I've got Elise, Levi, and Ethan, totally perfect kids, Unfortunately for them, they're stuck with me. They got me. I know my children love me, and I am deeply thankful for that. I also know that they don't agree with everything that I think or want or choose or decide, even as much as last night. About watching the movie we said was going to be good for you guys, and I don't want to watch it. But Mark Twain said this about his dad. He said, when I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years. It's fairly common, right, for kids to think that they know more than their parents. I remember that time in my life, thinking that when I'm a dad, I'm going to let my kids go wherever they want, when they want. I'm going to let them watch what they want. I'm going to let them eat what they want, right? When I'm going to have my own kids, I'm not going to be as strict, right? I'm going to be the cool dad, right? When it's my turn to be in charge, my kids are going to love me, right? It's always easier to do somebody else's job for them, isn't it? Like we're all experts at what other people do. Isn't that how it works? The past month or so, we've been on a mission here at Lifetree, searching for what we call the secret of contentment. The Apostle Paul was a man who endured incredible difficulties and challenges in his life. He was beaten, he was shipwrecked, he was slandered, abandoned by his friends. His life was rough, and he claimed to have found the secret of contentment. He made this bold declaration in Philippians. He says this, I have learned, see if we have it up there. It says maybe not yet. Okay, he says, I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. Verse 12, I know how to live. There he is. Oh, yeah, it is. It's there. I've learned to see. What? Okay. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Verse 13, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. And so these past few weeks, we've been on the hunt trying to find what the secret is so that we too can find contentment, right? How many of you, we talked about this, the journey of contentment. And our goal was not that we would be fully content when this is over, but that we would be perhaps more content than we were. That was going to be success. That if we are more content today than we were a few weeks ago, that if we'll be more content tomorrow than we are today, then that's progress. Then it's been worth it. And the reason is, so many of us walk through life discontent, right? Like, did anybody complain this week? Did anybody, maybe did you feel it? You didn't maybe verbalize it, but maybe you just thought it. You felt it like, not what I want, not how I want, not the way, right? No, I would have done it different, all this kind of stuff, right? To find contentment, wouldn't that be life-changing? Like how different would your life be if in the moment you said, I am fully content, and content not settling, but content in the sense of perfectly fulfilled. Couldn't be better. Everything is as it should be. I'm at peace with how things are. Like, could you imagine what life would be like if you felt that way? And what we've discovered is that there are a reason that we're discontent, right? That we have an enemy who seeks to keep us discontent, right? Because he wants us to live dissatisfied with life. Because so often when we feel dissatisfied, who do we blame first? But we blame God. That the enemy wants us to blame God for the way things are that we don't like, that it would create space between us and God for what we perceive as a lack in our life. And that the enemy keeps feeding us lies, and these lies we've identified need to be confronted, called out, and replaced with truth. And so that's what we've been doing. And today is the final message in this series. It's not to say that we've uncovered it all. It's not to say that we've figured it out and cracked the code, but we've discovered enough to get us started, to get us moving down the road to contentment. So the lies we've identified so far, there are 4 of them. And here are the lies that we've said, if you've missed any of them, just as a recap. 1, if I knew more, I'd be content. If I understood the whys of life, I'd be more content. 2, if I had more, if I had newer, if I had better, I would be more content. 3, if I could do more, if I was able to accomplish more, get more done, if I had more power to change things, I would be content. 4, if I just had my way, if I got what I want when I wanted, I would be content. Those are all lies. So now we come to lie number 5, right? And this may be the granddaddy of them all, right? And it's this. If God was what I wanted him to be, then I would be content. If God was what I want him to be, I would be content. If only God were different than he is, I would be content. If only God would care about what I care about, then I'd be content. If only God would think like I think, then I'd be content. If only God would act the way I want, the way I would act if I were God. And there we have it. If I were God, I would do it different. We've talked about this the past few weeks, but it's very easy to want God to be more than he is. We want him to be more open with information. Tell me more. We want God to be more generous with his gifts. Give me more. We want God to be more empowering. Help me do more. We want God to be more considerate. Let me have my way more. And we can trace this all the way back, this desire, this belief, this lie, all the way back to the beginning of time. Beginning of creation, human history, Adam and Eve in the garden. We've done this throughout. Adam and Eve in the garden, living in perfect peace. Everything is absolutely perfect. They're in Eden. Can't have better. Yet the devil plants the idea that they would be more fulfilled, more content, not just if they knew more, but what he was ultimately saying was that, listen, God is not as good as you think he is. That if you could reach out for more, and if you could, listen, if you could become just like God, that you would not need him anymore. The lie is that the pinnacle of human existence would be to become God. The lie is as old as time, that if you were God, if you didn't need God, if you could be God, if you could do his job for him, you would be content. Wouldn't it be great to be God? Let me ask you, if you didn't have to answer to anyone, if you had all the wisdom and power to have what you want when you want, doesn't that seem like it would make you truly content? Like if you just had the power to just get your way all the time, do whatever you want. If you could be God, it's the greatest lie, and it's the lie that was the undoing of the devil himself. We can read, the prophet Ezekiel tells us that the devil was once a special creation of God, a perfect and beautiful angel dwelling in Eden, that the devil himself was a creation of God. He had everything anyone could want, was blessed to live in the presence of God. Yet we're told that pride entered his heart. He rebelled. He wasn't content with all that good. He wanted to take God's place. He wanted to be God. And since that time, he has continued to lie to humanity and to convince them that if they chased, that if we were to chase what he chased, that we would find more. And in so doing, he has caused us all to forfeit the gift of contentment that we already have that could be ours right now. Adam and Eve had it, and he took it. We could have it, and he continues to try to take it from us. One of Jesus' closest followers, a disciple by the name of Judas, fell victim to this. Listen, Judas walked with Jesus. He literally walked with the Son of God. He had a front row seat to miracles and power and a kind of love the world had never seen before. Judas had all sorts of opportunities. He was literally living alongside God incarnate, God in the flesh. And yet Judas thought, I could do this better. So Judas betrays Jesus, sells him out. Listen to how Luke describes it. Luke chapter 22, verse 3 says this. Then Satan entered into Judas Iscariot, who is one of the 12 disciples, and he went to the leading priests and captains of the temple guard to discuss the best way to betray Jesus to them. Who led Judas to do what? Satan, the devil, the enemy. The enemy has always been behind every effort to lie to us that we could do it better, that we would make better gods. It did not end well for the devil. It did not end well for Judas, and it will not end well for us. And there's a very simple reason why. Now, this may be news to you. This may be news to somebody related to you, okay? But here's the reason this is not going to end well. We are not gods. Is that news? I don't know if anybody's like, you know some people that they don't know that yet, right? They don't. All men are like grass. All their glory like the flowers of the field. The grass withers, the flowers fade away. We are but dust. We are very temporary creatures, and we're so limited in our understanding. Our power is far too small. Anybody ever see the movie Bruce Almighty? Bruce Almighty, yep. Okay, the main character inherits God's powers for a time. How did it go? He made a mess of things, an absolute mess of things. Remember, he's trying to answer all the emails, and he's going like this, and he's like too much. Everybody's all the prayer requests coming in through this email line, and he just goes, finally, yes to everybody. Oh, that did not go well. See, but here's the thing. Even the world knows that we're far too small to be gods. Even in our humor, we poke fun, but we know. Tell me, who do you know who is capable of being God? Do you know anybody in the world who you would feel comfortable giving that power to? We are flawed. We are corrupt. Not one of us is perfect or pure. Even the best of humanity falls infinitely short. Yet the lie persists, and it's so believable that we would be better gods because it appeals to our ego, to our pride, that we would be good gods. I think nobody else, I don't want to say it, but I could do the job. I could be a pretty good god, I might make the Yankees win every time and the Knicks finally, but other than that, Isaiah sums up well the depth of our deception. Chapter 29, he says this, how foolish can you be? He is the potter, and he is certainly greater than you, the clay. Should the created thing say of the one who made it, he didn't make me? Does a jar ever say, the potter who made me is stupid? You see how ridiculous this is. If God were to be what we want him to be, what we think he should be, guess what he would become like? Us. We would make God in our image, and he would be far too small, far too weak, far too limited and inadequate for the job. Remember what happened when Moses climbed Mount Sinai for 40 days as God gave him the 10 Commandments, the law, right? He's up there meeting with God. God is meeting with him in power. There's all this cool stuff going on, right? And it says the people decided he's taking too long, and they made a god of their own, a golden calf. That was their solution. That's actually a picture from back then. Yeah. AI, here we go. This was their solution. This was what it looks like when people make a god. Isaiah says, who but a fool would make his own god, an idol that cannot help him one bit? And somewhere else it says, listen, you take wood, you fashion an idol, and you take the rest of the wood and you cook your dinner. Do you understand how ridiculous this is? The piece of wood that you just carved, you could put your trust in that. If we made God in our own image, far too small. A God of our own making could never lead to our contentment. So then, if that's the lie, if the lie is if God would be what I want him to be, I would be more content. If that's the lie, then what is the truth that we need to replace that with that will lead to our contentment? And it's found in the words the Lord spoke again to that same man, Moses, in Deuteronomy chapter 32. He says this, I will proclaim the name of the Lord. How glorious is our God. He is the rock. His deeds are perfect. Everything he does is just and fair. He is a faithful God who does no wrong. How just and upright he is. So here's the truth. Ready? Here's the big, big truth. Right? If God were how I want him, I would be content. Not true. That's the lie. Here's the truth. God is perfect. God is perfect. There is no flaw in God. He is absolutely, completely, entirely perfect. Not just perfect in what he does, but perfect in who he is. He is totally, absolutely, completely good. There is no evil in him. Totally good. You know, yin yang, right? A little bit of good in every evil and a little bit of evil in every good. No. There is no yin. God is completely good, pure, holy, right. He is love itself. He is justice. He doesn't just do it, he is it. He is grace and mercy. He is compassionate to the maximum extent. It's not just that there isn't a better God out there somewhere out there, but that there couldn't be a better God out there somewhere. You understand the difference, right? There is not a theoretical better. God is perfection. You could not improve upon it. This exposes how ridiculous the lie is. We can read what God has revealed in his word and think, I don't like that. I wish it were different. I wish he were different. I wish God had a different perspective on that. We read some very bold things in the scriptures. And some of them are very countercultural. Things we go, I don't like that. That doesn't really make it comfortable for me to live in this world thinking that, believing that, because that puts me in, I wish God were different, more appropriate to the times. For example, God has revealed that Jesus is the only way to eternal life. And some people don't like that. Why so exclusive, God? If I were God, I would let everybody in. I want everybody to experience that. And what we're saying, without saying it, if we're not paying attention, is this. We're saying, you know what? I would be more compassionate than God is. That I would love bigger and better than he does. That I would be more just and more gracious than he is. Can you see how easy it is for pride in ourselves to lead us to believing the lie that if we were God, we would do it better? God is perfect. And in his perfect way, God adds a promise that puts this truth to work in our everyday lives. So God is perfect, but he says, here, I'm going to show you what this looks like in your life. So here's the truth, I'm perfect, and here's the promise. Here's the promise. Just so happens that this was the verse of the day on YouVersion on the Bible app because that's the way it works. It just so happens that it's always there, God at work. But here's the verse, Romans chapter 8, verse 28, and it says this. Here's the promise. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. For God knew his people in advance, and he chose them to become like his son, so that his son would be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And having chosen them, he called them to come to him. And having called them, he gave them right standing with himself. And having given them right standing, he gave them his glory. And I love this. What shall we say about such wonderful things as these? If God is for us, who can ever be against us? Here's the promise to you. God is perfect, and God is working everything for your good. Everything. What you know, he's working for your good. What you have, he's working for your good. What you can do, he's working for your good. What things are happening to you, he's working for your good. Everything is working for your good. God planned your life long before you were born. God is perfectly what you need him to be today. And God was perfectly what you needed him to be yesterday. And God will perfectly be what you need him to be tomorrow and forever. God is perfectly loving with you, means you couldn't be loved more. God is perfectly just with you, means you couldn't be dealt with any fairer. God is perfectly generous with you, which means you couldn't have any better than you have right now. God is perfectly patient with you. He never gets annoyed or weary of you. God is perfectly present with you. You've never been alone. God is everything you need him to be. You lack nothing from your God. And that means we can have full contentment knowing not simply that God is the best we can get, but he's the best that could be. A.W. Tozier said, "A low view of God is the cause of 100 lesser evils, but a high view of God is the solution to 10,000 temporal problems." What do you think about God? Are you thinking low about God? I could do better. Or do you have a high view of God? It solves a whole lot of problems when you understand how big God actually is. If God is for us, who could ever be against us? God is perfect, and he is for me. If that's the truth, then I don't need to worry about what I don't know. I don't need to worry about what I don't have. I don't need to worry about what I can't do. I don't need to worry about what I can't control. If God is perfect and is for you, then right now you and I can have peace knowing that he knows it all, he has it all, he is able to do it all, and he will do it just right. Abraham Lincoln said, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." So what? So what today? Practically, then what do we do to experience this true contentment? If that's the truth and that's the promise, what does that mean for us as New Jersey in 2025 as we walk out the door into this kind of cool June Father's Day morning? And our response is really pretty simple. There's only one appropriate response to this truth and to this promise. There's really only one appropriate response, and it's this. Ready? It's going to be really like worship. Worship. Again, we turn to the words of Moses. Psalm 96 says, "Great is the Lord. He is most worthy of praise. He is to be feared above all gods. The gods of other nations, they're mere idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Honor and majesty surround him. Strength and beauty fill his sanctuary. O nations of the world, recognize," listen to that word, recognize the Lord. Recognize that the Lord is glorious and strong. Give to the Lord the glory he deserves. Bring your offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in all his holy splendor. Let all the earth tremble before him. Tremble before him. We were talking about this in prayer this morning. Someone once said that, in the scriptures it says that the enemy prowls around like a roaring lion. Operative word being like. Because our God is the lion. Our God is the lion, the King of all kings, the Lord of all lords. We need to have fear of God, not in a sense of I'm afraid of what he's going to do, but a holy, sacred reverence for who he is. If there's any illusion in our head that we could do better, that there's some flaw in him, we have yet to see who he really is. God is perfect. He is powerful. It was Charles Spurgeon who said, "I defend the gospel, the truth of God, the same way I defend a lion. I get out of the way." God is big. He is perfect. He is capable. He doesn't need our defense. He is awesome. The whole earth trembles before him. I love Chronicles of Narnia, right? He's a lion. Should we be afraid of him? Of course you should be afraid of him. He's a lion. He's not tame, but he's good. He's good. You want a lion on your side. The entire world's response to the greatness of God, the only appropriate response to who he really is worship. It's the only appropriate response to a perfect God, to who he is. See, when we worship, it recalibrates our life. Our fears and our worries and anxieties, guess what? When God, the lion, is your king, guess what happens? Those fear and those worries, they fade away. Because you got a lion on your behalf. Our pride is humbled and corrected. It's very hard to stay proud when you're face to face with the glory of God. Our guilt is washed away. Our shame is no more. When we worship, we change. Can I tell you today, if you truly want to know contentment, true contentment, bow in worship to the perfect God who does all things well because he is perfectly what we all need him to be. When I say worship, it doesn't mean sing louder. It's part of it. That's a way to worship, but worship is so much more than that. Here's worship in a nutshell. We worship God anytime we live in a way that acknowledges that he's perfect. Anytime I live in a way that acknowledges that God is perfect, I'm worshiping. So that means trusting when I don't understand it all. That's worship. So I don't know it all, God. I wish I could know it all today, but I'm going to trust you. That becomes a place of worship. It means thanking God for what you have, even when you could have more. That's worship. God, I have this. I'd like that and that and that, but I'm going to trust that this is enough. Thank you for this. I'm going to express gratitude for this car with 200,000 miles that's leaking oil, but it gets me from A to B. I'm going to thank you for this. I'm not going to be discontent. I will thank you here. That becomes a place of worship. Doing your best at work, even when it feels like it doesn't matter. Even when it feels like it's not enough. Even when it feels like, I don't even like this. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to give you my best. God, I'm going to do what you've put in my hands to do. Trust that you've already done it all. When I work hard, guess what? That becomes worship. Submitting your will and your way to his authority in your life. That's worship. God, I want to do this, but I feel like you're putting me over here, and I would rather go left, but you're saying go right. God, I'd rather move, but you're saying stand still. God, I submit my will to yours, not my way. I want my way, but I'm going to submit. Guess what? That becomes worship. Every time we act in a way that acknowledges that he is perfect, it becomes worship. You can sing, but it's a whole lot more than that. Every single decision we make proclaims that God is perfect. That becomes worship. And worship, it flings open the door for contentment to come into our soul. When I worship, God says, hey, you worship me, you trust me with all these things, contentment starts to come in. You show me somebody who worships God with their whole heart, and I'll show you someone who lives in true contentment, no matter what situation or circumstance they find themselves in. That's why Paul could say, I got all these problems, but I know who my God is. I've learned the secret of contentment. It's not in things, it's not in situations, it's not in circumstances, it's in him. It's in knowing who he is. Can I encourage you today? Here's your action step for this week. Here you go. Where are you most discontent? Where are you most discontent? Choose to worship God there. Is it something you need to know, you wish you could know? Is it something you wish you could have? Is it something you wish you could do? Is it something you wish just was going your way, a situation? Whatever it is, whatever right now in your life you're like, I'm so discontent in this place. Find a way to worship God there. Find the area you struggle the most with God, the very place you wrestle with him the most, and choose to make that an altar of worship. And if you will, I promise you, God promises you, if you will worship him there, contentment will grow within you more and more and more. Our verse for the year, Isaiah 26:3, declares this about our God, that you will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you. As we look up, contentment comes in. In a moment, we're going to close with our confession with a corporate prayer. Before we do, I just want to summarize the series. Going to put a bow on this thing. Let's wrap it up. Here we go. Ready? The lies of the enemy that seek to steal our contentment. If I knew more, I'd be content. If I had more, I'd be content. If I could do more, I'd be content. If things went my way, I'd be content. If God was how I wanted, I'd be content. And now the truths of God that contain the secret of contentment. God knows it all, and you know everything you need to know. God has it all, and you have everything good. You lack nothing. God has already done the greatest work and enables you to do everything that's yours to do. Your work matters. God is leading you in the best pathway, even if it's a roundabout way, and you are right where you need to be. He makes everything beautiful in its time. And finally, God is perfect, and He is everything we need Him to be. That is the secret of contentment. So then, let's seal this in our hearts with one final confession. And I'll speak first, and I'll invite you to repeat after me. And can I invite you to stand? Like, for the sacredness of this moment, can we stand? Just to really say, God, let me just say this. Can I say it like we mean it? Let's make sure the enemy knows that we're done with his lies, yes? And make sure God knows that we're ready for the truth to plant contentment in our hearts. So I'm gonna say it, and when I invite you to say it, I'm like, you can say it, but say it. Come on, let's say it. All right, would you pray with me? Father in heaven, you made me. You rule over all creation. You alone are God. I confess that there are times I think I know better than you. That if I were in your place, my life would be better. That is not true. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are precisely what I need you to be. Yesterday, today, and forever. There could be no better God than you. I will worship you because you are worthy of my worship. My worship is the only appropriate response to who you are. My contentment is found in the promise that one day I will have the privilege of understanding your perfection in full.